Hey everybody, it's Missy bringing you another layout for the Hip Kit Club. And the layout that I made for today was based on this beautiful mood board for the month. And I was inspired by the picture in the lower right hand corner of those multicolored triangles. And so I'm going to make this layout about the Christmas tree hunt. And I'm going to be using the picture of my daughter at the Christmas tree lot, and she's standing in front of a few trees. And this layout is kind of similar in design to the one I created last week, but a little bit different. I decided to go with this basic gray paper as my background, and it's not really white, it's more of a cream with those little black loop-de-loops on it, and I just coated a lot of white gesso on it to kind of blend out some of the pattern. And now I'm taking a small square punch, and I've chosen a few different of my favorite pattern papers, and I'm just going to punch some squares, and I'm eventually going to make these squares into triangles. And I like that this paper here already has little squares on it, and so I punched way too many. I punched more than I needed, but at the time I wasn't sure how many that I would need. So this pink paper is scraps from what I used for last week, so I'm trying to make use of all the pieces that I have left instead of just trashing them. This is perfect for punching just like this because I only need small bits. So I wanted to follow the mood board, so I had pink, teal, and then I'm going to make gold and silver. And so I'm going to use white cardstock, and again this is another just a half sheet. And I'm going to use the Heidi Swapp Gold Color Shine and this beautiful metallic silver dabber that we got. Both of these came in the color kit this month. And so I'm just going to create solid patterns of color, or not patterns, but solid blocks of color here to do more punching with my square punch. And I'm just going to take a foam brush and finish smoothing out some of the gold because I just want to cover, half the sheet with it. I'm impatient and I want it to dry, so I'm going to use my heat tool to dry it, and that didn't take long. Look how shiny it is. Oh my gosh. Oh, I love it. Sorry, I had a moment there where I was excited about how shiny it was. And again, I'm just going to punch through it here. And I love that the gold color shine is so subtle. It's not, brassy or too shiny. It's just sparkly and gorgeous. And I love it. It's a really pretty, subtle gold. And I'm sure most of you know this. I'm sure most of you have this. And it's one of my favorite color shines ever. This silver is really pretty. I'm going to do the same thing here. And so now I've got all of my squares. And I need to work with my base paper here because it did curl a little bit because of all that gesso. So all you need to do is take your scissors and cut each square in half. And so you have these little triangles. And then I'm going to mimic the picture. And I'm going to put my triangles in the same order of color that they were in the picture. So I've got silver, teal, pink, and gold. And I'm really liking using gold and silver on the same layout. Usually we think it's got to be all silver or all gold. I think when Christmas gets here, you can use both of them because it looks pretty together. Actually, it doesn't have to be Christmas. You can do whatever you want, whenever you want. That's the beauty of scrapbooking, right? So I'm just gluing the tips of each of these down because I'm eventually going to sew through them. And there you go. I've got a lot of them done. And I took some gold thread and just sewed right through the middle. And so now they look like little Christmas trees. All right, so I also used some of the cut files. This is from one of Nicole's cut files. I just couldn't resist these trees. I know my layout last week had trees. I'm obsessed with trees all of a sudden. I don't know. I had to use trees again on my page. And so I created several different sizes of these little open Christmas trees that mimic the triangles. And I used the light teal cardstock, and I just cut a bunch of them out. And I want the effect of the picture kind of sitting in a forest of trees. And so I just wanted to create a bunch of overlapped trees of different sizes in the background. And then I'm going to also come in with these triangles. And my original intention was not to use these triangles as trees. But once I put them together, they reminded me of this cut file of these trees. So I thought, yep, they're going to be trees. And she's wearing a hot pink shirt in the picture, and it just went perfectly because I had to use that hot pink paper. Now, I didn't want anything to move. I liked the way I had it layered, and so I thought, okay, I need to attach this. And so I just took my glue and, as best as I could, just kind of glued it all together so it would just move as one piece, just like that. So now I can move it and bring it back as I need. All right, so I got to jazz up the background, and so I'm just using, surprise, surprise, my teal gelatos. I have tons of colors of these gelatos, but I love the teals and the blues. It seems like I grab those all the time, and I just want a little bit of color in the background behind those trees, but I don't want it to be too much teal, and so I'm going to mix it up here. I add a little bit of this light blue in, and in person you can see it a little better because it is so light. It's hard to see here on the screen. I'm sorry if I sound stuffy. I just had a sneezing attack before I started recording this, and so hopefully that won't happen again, and I won't have to put you through that torture. So this is the look I'm going for. I want a little bit of the pretty teal in the background, but I don't want it to blend in with the same color as that cardstock. So I pulled in some of the teal turquoise Heidi Swap Color Shine just to give it a little bit of a darker blue color in the background. And I just kind of go random here. I do the plastic packaging. I do paint splatters. I just kind of keep going here and there with color, and I keep putting the die cuts back on top of it to see what it looks like. And I'm really liking how that's looking. I just didn't want the background to be one solid, color. And here, I don't know if this really worked or not. I had the idea of gold circles, so I pulled out the stencil, and it didn't really jump out at me, and so I just kind of used the gold to kind of smush it around. I flipped the stencil over, and it really didn't leave a gold background. It just kind of left a hint of gold, so it worked out fine. But the gold is so metallic that it didn't really do the same idea as, the blues. It's not as bold, so it more or less just left like a hint of gold sparkle, which is fine because more sparkle is good for me. All right, so I have to put some kind of base down under these trees so they're not just floating in the middle of the page. I kind of like to have some kind of ground there. And so I tore a little strip of this wood grain paper off. And, it doesn't necessarily look like dirt or ground, but it gives them something to stand on the page. And I had not used this wood grain paper yet, and I like the way that looks. I taped everything down because that's exactly where I want it to go. And I add a little bit of vellum to my photo. And still not done with the background. The more I looked at it, the more I decided it needed a little more teal. And this layout actually took me a long time to do, and so it was really hard to cram all of this footage into under 15 minutes, and so a lot of this is sped up. I'm going to use some of the cardstock from the cardstock kit, the darker teal and this hot pink piece, and I'm just going to create a couple of other layers underneath that wood grain sheet just for hints of color. And a little bitty piece of that gorgeous shiny gold polka dotted washi tape. I love that stuff. It's so cute. I think I'm going to keep that out on my desk because I feel like I'm going to use that in a lot of future projects. All right, I didn't want those layers to move, so I go ahead and glue those down. And I wanted to mimic something at the top without being too busy. I didn't want it to just be a blue sky. I didn't want to cover the whole part of it blue. And so I am going to create a slight bit of layers at the top. And I play around with this for a while. It takes me a while to decide what to put where, because that pink is so bright and so bold. I didn't want it to be just like this bright pink thing standing out at the top. And so I left it alone, and I'm going to come back to it. I gotta have my thread, so this time I used gold, and I fight with the gold thread a lot because the texture of it, since it's metallic, is different than your ordinary average, white or black thread. And so it wants to stay straight. It does not want to loop around like I like it. So it takes me a while to get the gold and silver thread just so, because it's very stubborn and it does not want to curl for me. I'm going to use this pink fresh sticker, this little reindeer. I like the way he looks. He looks perfect right there on the side of the picture. So I'm going to come back to the top cluster, and I'm going to wind up coming in with some gesso to tone down that hot pink. But in the end, I like the way it looks, and I like that it gives the top a little bit of detail to look at. And the mood board is really, really pretty this month. I don't know if you've seen it. I know I showed it in the beginning, but if you have not got to actually look at it and study it, there are so many fun details in it, and a lot of things inspired me in it. But those triangles were probably one of the first things that I noticed, and so that's what I decided to base this layout on. And don't forget, there's also a sketch this month that Ashley created, as well as all of those gorgeous cut files. All right, so I've added my gesso, and I've got my little layer up there at the top, and I think the gesso really, really helped. It toned it down a little bit. I added a little bit of gold stitching through it, and then I'm going to use that wood veneer piece and, of course, some more gold thread that I had to fight with, so I had to glue it down immediately. And then I'm going to use a few of the stars that are in the, I think, embellishment kit, either the embellishment or the main kit. The acrylic pieces. They are so cute. I hope we get more of those in future kits because they are such a unique embellishment and they're so pretty. All right, I am finally going to use one of the flare buttons. I love flare, and I have not made them be able to work on my first 2 pages. And so I'm going to use some hot pink thread, and I'm going to use this flare that says Merry and Bright. And I'm just going to stick it right there on top of my picture. And then I'm going to work on my title. And I love, love, love these Maggie Holmes Shine Thickers. This is my first layout using them. And I love the fact that you can color them, which I'm going to do here shortly. I'm going to take this Project Life card, and I'm going to fussy cut out Merry and Bright. And I'm going to use it. It does take me a while, so I don't put you through the torture of watching me cut every single one of those letters out. But I'm going to use it right here to the right of the photo because I like the color, and I like that it gives that area a little something else besides just the trees. And I'm going to use the ampersand from that thicker sheet, and I'm going to glue all that down. And I'm also going to use these gold Maggie Holmes Shine stars. They are the perfect size for the tops of all my little trees. I didn't even plan that, and I'd forgotten about those. These actually got stuck in between some of my papers, and I found them again, and I thought, yay, I'm going to use these. And I love how they look on top of all the trees. Now, this is some of my Shimmers product from my stash. It's this really pretty pink color, and I'm using a teeny tiny brush, and I'm just going to use it to paint in some shadowing on these thickers. And I think this is my favorite part of these thickers is they're perfect for coloring. And I love how this turns out. I'm definitely going to do this again. So if you have any hello, I'm stuttering, any liquid, paint or spray, anything like that, get yourself a little paintbrush and paint in these letters because it gives it a really cool effect. And you can make it any color you want. So I was very happy with how that turned out. And I did stitch through it a little bit. And I just add a little bit of journaling here and the year. And that's going to call it. That's it. There's my final page. I had a really good time doing this, even though it took me a while. I love the results. I'm obsessed with Christmas trees all of a sudden. And I love how this turned out. So check out the cut files. Check out all the kits if you have not yet. They are so gorgeous this month, and the December kits will be coming out soon, and they are gorgeous as well. So let me know if you have any questions about anything that I used, anything that I did. I hope you guys have a wonderful day. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for subscribing, and I'll see you guys next time.